Hello and welcome everyone to yet another episode of Chalo Numbers Samjhe. Real log, real money, real decisions. क्यों? क्योंकि numbers कभी झूठ नहीं बोलते.
So, Amejan, I have one, question in the current context, where the current markets are. So, I think from its all-time high market, and when I say market, it's Nifty and Sensex, so they are around 15-18% down. So, what should an investor do? How do they invest in the current market scenario, or
How to buy
in this fall, basically? How to buy the dip, correct?
This is not Gautam's question. This is like the nation wants to know.
Nation wants to know
The
exactly.
nation wants to know how do you buy the dip. And
In our group also, I think we are flooded with a lot of questions.
What should I
we
do right now?
SIP, continue, stop. So what should be the approach basically?
Yeah. And then especially, I think since you do index, then in that case, like, is there a different approach for index versus active? And
No.
Yes,
How do
correct.
Yeah, so simple answer, no, nothing different given that it is index funds, right? So I think this was one of the first articles I wrote, I think in 2020. Now, I'm not sure if I remember all the approaches that I recommended, but I'll try and see what comes to my mind, right? I think the first one is, like we were discussing earlier in the call, do nothing. Just sit still, do nothing, right? Is a very, very powerful strategy, right? So but let's
And the
clarify.
toughest strategy to not do, Jay, we were just talking, right? Ki everybody wants to take some action. So
Yeah. So the but let me qualify that and clarify what I mean by do that. Do nothing means just continue what you were doing as if nothing happened. What I mean, if most of us have an SIP, simply continue your SIP, because that's exactly what SIP is designed for, right? We know that an SIP buys more when the market falls, so you're buying, etc., right? So I think do nothing and continuing your SIP, so to speak, is definitely sort of one thing that you can do, and perhaps one of the most powerful. Like, so you have to be unshaken. You have to be unshaken. The key is not to listen to the news, because the news always hypes up things, always makes things look far worse than they are, right? And scares you into taking action and panicking. So definitely do not read the news, or do not look at social media posts about it. Do not look at anything on YouTube or
That is
Insta.
one best thing one can do.
Yeah, right. So perhaps the best thing is, turn off your feeds, or, just close those. Very hard to do, but yeah, don't listen to them. Even if you click on it, don't keep listening to it, right? But turn off the news, continue SIPs. Whatever you were doing earlier, you do, right? So SIPs is for a person who is, obviously, many of us and most of us are still in what is called the build-up phase. We are building up towards our final asset allocation. So we are doing SIP, so you continue your SIP, right? The second option is for people who have obviously reached their asset allocation. If you're like in a case like mine now, right? So I have reached 50%. I don't intend to go much higher. So I don't really have SIPs running right now, right? So in that case, the second simple thing to do is to do a fundamental rebalancing, right? But yeah, you want to have some trigger for your rebalance, right? So, do you want to rebalance every day because the market is falling by 1% every day? Or when will you rebalance? So you want to create your own sort of guidelines to say, when will I rebalance? And I don't know, some of the recent reports and data I saw from Value Research seems to suggest that the most optimal rebalancing seems to happen if you rebalance at somewhere between 10 to 15% fall or deviation from your final asset allocation. So you could take
that's a good. So what you're saying is the first benchmark is 5-7% गिरा तो कुछ मत करो. The first trigger should be when the market falls below 10%. I mean 10% or more.
But that's what Value Research's analysis has shown is the most optimal rebalancing.
Okay.
But you are free to choose what you want, right? It is, again, as always, it is your money. So you can choose and say, no, I don't want to take a risk of waiting till 10 or 15%. I will do every 5%. So the key is to decide what you think you want to do, write it down, and then just follow it. Then don't do different things at different times, right? To like do decide what works for you, write it down and do it, right?
Understood.
So use triggers and rebalance. So one option for people building up allocation is continue your SIP. Second one for people who already reached their asset allocation is rebalance. Decide your trigger point of how much the market should fall before you do that. And of course, the third one is what we call dynamic asset allocation to take advantage of market drops. So that is obviously a well-known concept in investment. And I follow what is Dr. Bernstein's principle or guideline for dynamic asset allocation, right? Of course, before we get into it, I just want to be very clear and make a disclaimer that first of all, it is a guideline. It is not a hard and fast rule. Okay. The second point I want to make is that it is for quite experienced investors. So I would not recommend it for people who are less than 5-7 years of investing experience, right? And I would highly recommend, although we will talk about how this is to be done, I would highly recommend that you work with a person, an experienced financial advisor or somebody like that, if you are actually going to implement it, right? So yeah, just with those cautionary notes, the way that so let me again explain who is Dr. Bernstein, right? Dr. William Bernstein is.
And I also I was just googling the name as you said, and I found this. I mean, your article came on, pretty much on top.
Okay.
On this one, I'll open it up.
Yeah. Okay.
This is the one you're talking about.
Yeah, that's the one. Yeah, correct.
It's I think what this image says is before 50% crash, you were at 50, and after 50% crash, I mean, if you don't do anything, you are basically at 25 now.
Yeah.
So if in case you do that, I mean, this is how it should be, right? After traditional rebalancing 50, and after Dr. Bernstein's dynamic allocation, it should actually be 55.
Yeah. I mean, so the key is that Dr. Bernstein is a very credible person because he has, written over 10 books on investing. He's regularly was interviewed by CNBC and the likes for his advice and knowledge on investing. In fact, some of the best financial advisors around the US also consult him and bring him onto their podcast, etc. And of course, his advisory firm.
All the cautions that you also put up.
Yeah. His advisory firm only takes minimum $25 million of investment. So yeah, you really need to be good. But what he has done, what Dr. Bernstein has done is he has tried to democratize and make all his knowledge accessible to the public. Like you and me cannot get his advice because we don't have $25 million, I'm assuming.
Yeah.
But at least we have access to all his knowledge through his books, and he has tried to make it as simple and accessible as possible. So Dr. Bernstein did this based on research of the US markets. So that's another disclaimer, clearly, right? Dr. Bernstein's thumb rule has come based on research from US markets from 1926 onwards, etc. And he has analyzed the worst crashes in the whole of the history of the US market, etc. Right? Now, let's get to the bottom line, right? So what is his thumb rule? What Dr. Bernstein is saying, increase your asset, depending on how much the market has crashed, right? What percentage the market has crashed, increase allocation based on 1/5 of the extent of the crash, right? So maybe we can look at that example on the article, right? So in that example, we assumed a worst case scenario of a 50% crash, let's say like what happened in the financial crisis in 2008. If the market has fallen by 50%, right? So let's say the Sensex, which might be today, let's say 75,000, if it goes to 36, 37,000, right? If the Sensex has fallen and gone to half, it's fallen by 50%, right? I want to increase my equity allocation by 1/5 of the fall. What is the fall? 50%. What is 1/5 of 50%? That's 10%, right?
10%.
So I want to increase my allocation by 10%. Now, what was the allocation at which I was before the crash? 50, right? And 10% of 50 is 5. So I'm going to say 50 plus 5. I'm not just going to rebalance and go back to my original allocation 50. I will add another 5% to my equity, right?
Oh.
And so that
1/5 of the crash. So if the market is, let's say, crashing 25%, it could be 5%
Yeah,
Of- of- of your-
but 5% of your current equity allocation.
your
See,
current equity.
if you are a very conservative, if you're a very aggressive investor, and you said I will do 5%, I'm 80% equity, right? So 5% of 80% would be what? 16. I would,
16%.
right? So I would add 16% because it is 5% of 80, which was my original equity allocation.
Got it.
Right?
This is an interesting one. Maybe we should work this out together, right? Because I think this will be nice, and
If
maybe
we can work on it on Excel.
yes. Let me do that, right? So I've tried to just put what your article said, and what you shared with me in this simple Excel format. I think what we've taken is this the same thing that you said, right?
Yeah.
So I think the current market is about 20%, 25%, Gautam. Maybe we'll take that exact number, right?
I think you said 15%, you said, no?
15, 16, 16%.
Okay, let's take 20.
Let's take
है ना?
20.
So
Let's take 20.
Let's just take 20. So 20% current scenario. We don't know if it moves to 25, but 20% current scenario. And now this is, let's assume that let's assume my portfolio is 10 lakh rupees. Okay. I'll just data this out. Okay. So let's say I am 10 lakh rupees of total, out of which, let me say I have, so this is my total portfolio value. And now let's say out of this my equity is what? 7 lakhs? I'll just say 7 lakhs, है ना?
No. Since we've chosen 60%, let's choose 6 lakhs.
Oh, अच्छा, यहाँ पे 60.
6
okay,
lakhs,
okay.
yes.
हाँ, so 6 lakhs, okay. So let's say my, ठीक है, crew. This becomes my 6 lakhs is my equity. Sorry. Okay. So now what you're telling me to do is, since the market is down 20%.
Wait. But now when it is down 20%, are you saying right now the equity is 6 lakhs or it was before the crash?
Before the crash.
So now after the crash, it has become 20% down, right? So
Okay. So let me put
4.8.
So, so I'll put it here only. So my equity was 60. My total portfolio value was this much. Yeah, I think this way it'll look better. Right? Oh, take a second. There's some issue. I was just trying to, sorry. So, okay. Let's go this way. So 60 and 6 lakhs. What's this? Why is this coming different? Anyways. Sorry, I have some OCDs when it comes to size and fonts, so sorry about that. But so my total portfolio value is 10 lakhs, so 60% is now equity. Now after 25% crash, it
20%.
is
20%.
20% crash. So 20% of 60 is 12%, so it is 48%, right?
correct, yeah. And
So
4
now,
lakhs.
so this
4.8
becomes
lakh.
4.8 lakh, right? So 48 into this is, okay. This also I'll put the formula only. So maybe we can also share this with our audience. Cool. Now percentage to increase. So this will be 1/5 of 20%, right?
1/5 of 20, yeah, that's 4%.
So 1/5 of 20% is 4%.
Yeah.
So which means I need to make so this won't come now. 4%
Of 60. 4% of 60. 60 because 60% is your asset allocation, right? So you want to increase
Okay.
4% of 60.
So my 60. So let's say I choose a 60-40 asset allocation is what you're saying, right?
Yeah, because we've chosen.
My
So,
equity debt is 60-40 in general. That's my risk appetite, my ratio that I have selected in general. Correct? Now, what you're saying is 4% of 60. So 4% of 60 is what? 3%.
15%.
just do it on the Excel and you'll get the number.
No, I mean this was 3%, so I was just thinking. So 4% of 60 I took because because I am supposed to be investing 60. Like my total portfolio allocation would be 60.
No. So let me explain, right? So it is saying increase your allocation by 4% of your equity allocation. 4% of your equity allocation is how much? 4% of 60. It is 4% of, or it is 4% of 6 lakhs, right?
No, but 4% of 60 or 4% of, because my now allocation is 4,80,000.
No, but we are saying that you have chosen as an investor
Okay.
that 60% allocation is the kind of allocation you require in order to meet your goals, right?
Okay.
So you must stick to that, because if you don't stick to that, then you're varying and
Got it.
you might
So-
not achieve your goals. So
Got it. So 60 into 4%, which is 240. Sorry, 4% of 60. Nah, so
2.4%, right?
what did you say?
I think it should be 2.4%. I'm just guessing.
I'm just thinking इसको formula में कैसे डालूं? Shit. I've gone blank.
Is
Akshat
equal to
has Akshat come from IIT or where? Let us check this now. Was the certificate fake?
Oh shit, मेरा पर्दाफाश हो गया है. तो गौतम help me यार.
2.4% यार.
फॉर्मूला में कैसे डालूं?
अरे यार, is equal to simply type 4% into, ठीक है, 60.
यही तो किया था. 240 आ रहा है. मेरे को भी नहीं आता.
अच्छा, वो put there 60% क्योंकि वो पोर्टफोलियो ये 60% है ना.
Exactly. I was just searching.
Yes.
I was just checking you.
Oh my God. Good one.
I was just checking how attentive you are. Acha,
right.
so now the rebalancing.
You will just take it up to 6 lakhs.
So this now becomes 60 plus this, right? 62.4%.
Yeah. So what you will do is, in a normal rebalancing, you would have taken it, you would have added 1.2 lakhs only. Now you will add 1.2 lakhs plus, I don't know, what is that? 24%.
So this is basically 2.4 of 6 lakhs, right? This into this, 14,400 rupees, right?
Yeah. In addition to, over and above your original 6 lakh allocation. So you're going to go above. Not only are you taking it back to your original 6 lakhs.
So basically we need to make it 6 lakh 14,400 actually.
Correct. Yeah.
Correct. So your overall allocation should become basically this much. So now the amount of money that you need to rebalance, is equal to this 14,400 plus
1 lakh 20.
plus the difference between 6 lakhs minus 4 lakh 80,000. Correct?
1,34,400.
Now I got it. Yeah, that's it. That's an interesting take.
So that is the sort of lump sum purchase you would make on your 6 lakh equity in order to implement this, what is called dynamic asset allocation or rebalancing.
In my equity. Makes sense. So this is how I buy the dip. So basically, when it's dipping by 20%, and if my total equity is 6 lakhs, so I should move 1,34,000 rupees from my debt or from my savings into equity, so that my overall portfolio now is 6238, right?
Right. Yeah.
Nice. What if I want to keep it at 60 only? Okay, just do that.
That's fine. That's good enough. I mean, frankly, there is no real reason or need. Despite the fact that we are talking about this, I think if it tends to become complicated, rebalancing is certainly good enough as a way to.
Correct. Now this makes sense. So yeah, that's what you've written here also. After rebalancing, I mean it's 60%, but you following the guideline of Dr. Bernstein, 62.4% is what you can make, so that in the longer run this helps you that way, right?
Yeah. Correct.
Makes sense. So otherwise you could have only done this difference, right? So 680 minus or just the 60%. Wow, this is interesting. This is helpful. I am sure a lot of people are going to find this useful.
Yeah. I mean, I think my point is that the reason I think that this is useful is because in most investing, my belief is that it is quite risky to go with gut feel and intuition on various things. It is good to have a proper guideline, and in this case, a well-researched guideline by someone who is so senior and has done so much of research on over 100 years of data, rather than say, I will just do what my gut tells me, right, or my emotion tells me, right? So I think it saves us from doing something like that, which is perhaps the greatest value, is that it will prevent you from ending up making some mistake using your gut feel.
Yeah.
Yes.
By the way, and very true. I mean, this is what usually people say. थोड़ा और डाल दो, but वो कितना और डालना है? This is how.
और कब डालना है?
Wow, very helpful. So I have one more question. So now you've told us that you've already reached out to Dr. Bernstein and और किस-किस को reach out किया? Have you reached out to have you reached out to Warren Buffett as well?
No, thank you. No, I don't have the guts to do that, and I won't get an answer. I know that. So I'm not going to
You never know. You never.
Yeah. It's worth it.
I was astonished to see Hathaway Berkshire's website. Have you guys seen the website?
No, no.
Oh my goodness, I should show you this. This was astonishing for me when somebody told me about it. This is how the website looks.
Oh, wow.
Today, day and age, when we have AIs and graphics and colors and this and that, this is all that his website is. A single pager website, a message, the reports, and that's it. No flashy things, no.
Wow. His returns and results do the talking. He doesn't need a flashy website.
Yeah, this is actually BerkshireHathaway.com. I mean,
Wow,
it's just,
wow. That's
it's
it. Yeah.
just crazy. I think we can't see that here, but let me also show you that here. Just wanted to, yeah. See, this is the official BerkshireHathaway.com.
Wow. Yeah. Yeah. So coincidentally, even Dr. Bernstein's website is just like this only.
Is it?
He started his blog his blog is called Efficient Frontier, efficientfrontier.com.
Okay.
So he started his blog in 1994 and he hasn't changed the look of it since 1994 or something. Efficientfrontier.com.
I think this is the one. Oh, nice.
Quite similar.
Nice.
So, yeah.
Quite similar. I think they must be speaking to each other quite a lot.
No, I don't think he's at that level. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe he does, but he's not.
You never know. Sorry. You never know. Nice. Thank you. This was super helpful. I'm sure there's lots and lots people could learn today. Any
The
other
last
questions?
part was super, informative and action oriented. Actually, I'll say.
I
So
know.
this is good thing, good takeaway for me even. When to act and how much to act.
Absolutely. Cool. And Mesan, so before we wrap up, I think another quick question that I had was like what tools and what kind of websites you use or you would recommend people today to use.
Right. So I think that's a really important question because one of the real tremendous values that a tool gives you is that it gives you the ability to accurately measure the performance of your portfolio and the returns both at an aggregate level, at a portfolio level, as well as at an individual, investment by investment level. And I think that's an extremely important step. And I've sort of seen many people have portfolios, but not really know what is the aggregate return of their, investments, right? Everything put together, equity, debt, gold, everything put together, right?
True. I mean, I have to use a Excel sheet to try and calculate that.
Yeah.
I don't even know how accurate is it.
Yeah, and the thing is that it is nearly impossible to do that using our Excel, etc. Because most of us are, one is we have a lot of funds, right? But even if you have, let's say, only 4 or 5 funds, most of us are doing it, investing via SIP over a, 7, 8, 10 year period at least, right? And calculating XIRR returns, which is the real measure of returns, over a 7, 8 year period with so many SIP transactions is a, manual nightmare if you're trying to do it in Excel. Which is why we simply have to rely on tools, right? So the first tool that I got introduced to about 5 years ago is a tool called Kuvera, right? Kuvera. It's an Indian company. I think they are based out of Bangalore. And so Kuvera was an eye-opener. I of course moved to Kuvera. I started using Kuvera because I wanted to buy direct funds and transact on my own. But what I was fascinated by was that it was the first time that I was truly able to see an aggregate XIRR return, not only for my current investments, right, but for all the investments that I had bought and sold in the past. So for me, it was sort of a emperor's new clothes kind of moment, to say, look, most tools that I have seen only show me what is the returns on what I'm holding today. But it is covering up and hiding the mistakes I made in the past years, right? It is sort of pushing them under the rug, under the carpet and forgetting about them, right? But if I want to know what is my performance as an investor over, a 10-year period or something like that, which is a meaningful period, I need to know what is called my all-time return, which means I need a tool which can look at all the mutual funds that I have bought and sold. Like I might have zero balances today in, let's say, 20 mutual funds, I might have zero balance and I have 5 funds currently. Most tools and most advisor reports only show me the returns of the 5 funds I have today,
The current fund.
but are completely sort of ignoring and forgetting that I bought and sold 20 funds in the last 3 years, right?
So Kuvera will pull that up automatically from your PAN card and all, is it? Or
Yes.
I mean, you have to manually put in the.
No, no.
No, I'm talking about the old fund. So our
Yeah.
PAN will have all the data, is it?
Yes, yes. I mean, fortunately, given that CAMS and KFinTech and these registrars have all your, zero balance folio data as well, they have a way of going. Perhaps they go to MF Central finally. I don't know, but each tool has its own way of getting the data. Once you give your PAN or your based on email ID and PAN,
Email ID and PAN they do actually.
they're able to fetch and import all your past funds, right? And they give you a figure called all-time returns. So your all-time returns is truly your report card in investing, right? And I would say that if your all-time returns have beaten inflation, you are a successful investor, right? So I would highly encourage anyone to sort of use tools like Kuvera. Even Value Research does that. In fact, Value Research also gives you your, how much higher than inflation your overall returns have been over the past years. Value Research also gives you, it's called Value Research Fund Advisor, so you have to subscribe to it. And it gives you the returns inflation adjusted and gives you the returns as compared to the Sensex or compared to PPF. Right, so you can compare each investment of yours and say, how did this investment do against Sensex, or how did this investment do against PPF, or how did my whole portfolio do compared to if I had put everything into PPF or everything into Sensex.
This is both in Kuvera and Value Research, is it?
No. What I just spoke about is Sensex and PPF benchmarking is only done in,
That is in
Value Research.
So I need either or, right? I don't need both.
No, you don't need both. Yeah, I think either or is probably more than enough because. So Value Research.
And then you're saying Value Research has one additional feature of this benchmarking versus gold and versus.
Yeah, versus Sensex and PPF, right? So fundamentally our main goal we all know is to outpace inflation. So you get that at least that very basic answer you get, right? Whether you have managed to do it or not, right? So
Makes sense.
I think that's really important, and I think once
That
a year.
actually-
Sorry, go ahead.
Yes, Mejan, continue.
No, I think measuring like this once a year is non-negotiable. I mean, if there's one of the top 5 most important things I would suggest any investor do is, make sure you put all your investments into one of these kinds of tools. I only know these two, maybe there are others, Value Research or Kuvera, and check your all-time returns, not your current returns. Check your all-time returns and benchmark them against inflation, Sensex and PPF. Then you will know where you stand.
And this is actual inflation, right? I mean, it's
All-time.
not. I mean, we assume 4%, 5%, but I think Value Research will have the actual inflation.
Yeah. They have
over
actual
the
inflation.
quarters and years. Nice. I'm gonna try this for sure.
Okay, so Gautam, you were saying something. I interrupted you.
Yeah, this all-time return I was talking about. I have never encountered, any such tool or platform which gives me, that all-time return thing. And that's actually a good analysis. I think more than good, actually it will be an honest analysis one should do actually.
So,
how
if
your-
I buy the subscription, can I import multiple folios, or it's just going to be mine? Like, can I import multiple people's
Yeah.
PAN cards?
Yeah. So at least both of them allow that. Yeah.
Okay.
So-
So Gautam, what I was telling you, maybe you should ask all your clients. I will show you how your funds have performed. In the entire history, I have a secret formula to calculate that, and then you can use that, and you can charge.
Yeah.
Nice idea.
Yeah, it is quite a humbling experience, right? Because we keep looking at current returns, which look so rosy and all. But when you see that all-time return figure, it comes so much lower that maybe you don't want to actually look at it. But it's okay. It's not bad. It's giving you the truth and reality, right? So.
Right. Did you see a huge drop when you checked it for the first time?
So actually, see, the thing is, when I checked for the first time, I wouldn't have known. I didn't even know. I didn't know the concept of all-time returns. But suddenly, I sent an email to the customer support team at Kuvera and said, "What kind of returns are you showing me?" And that's when they replied and they said, "We show you two types of returns. We show you current return and we show you all-time return." And then he explained clearly in that email. Hats off to that nice guy at customer support. He said, all-time returns includes everything that you bought and sold in the past. Right? Eye opener.
Excellent. I have so much to take away from this conversation today. It was absolutely a privilege asking you and asking you so many questions. Thank you, Mezjan, for your time. For all
Pleasure, and thank you for this opportunity. I always love talking about a subject I'm so passionate about. In fact, you can't stop me, so it's good that you stopped me finally. So,
we can go on and on. Just kidding. I think that's what happens, right? When a couple of us with the same passion on the subject get together. But I was so excited. I think I absolutely loved everything that you shared.
great, thank you for the opportunity. Okay.
Thank you, Meshan. Really insightful, I'll say insightful for me.
Yeah, but we are always continuous learning path, right? See,
Yeah,
even
I
in
think
the
that's
last
Yes,
conversation I had with you, I've also learned. Every conversation we learn from each other. So
right.
I think